But I learned a long time back that if you focus on money, you really are not going to get it. I think it's John D. Rockefeller who said it pretty well. If money is your only goal in life, you will rarely get it. But when you have a higher purpose of service, of contribution, all right, and making sure that you are able to make an impact.
I'm your host, Evelyn Clark, and this is the Six Star Business Podcast, where I get to have incredible conversations with people from all around the world, all about what it takes to be six star. I delve into their journeys, their history, what makes them who they are today, what their genius is, and how they've come into alignment with that genius and how they're serving the world. Because it's through that pure alignment with ourselves that we can properly serve our customers through our businesses and create a greater impact in the world. It's all about ourselves first, and that's what it takes to be six star. Enjoy. My conversation today is with Darshan Chavan, and he is someone who's just so inspirational. His journey is one of pure grit and overcoming many barriers, many blocks. He has this inner drive to succeed, and his story of how he came to Australia and what he had to overcome and what he had to learn in the process and the reason why he did it is really compelling and shows us the importance of having a dream, having a vision and a why. And without all those factors, we don't really go anywhere. We're aimless. Well, Darshan is the opposite. He is aiming at something and he is driven, and he's been so successful as a result of his inner belief in himself. And he talks all about that and his approach to life and how he shows up as a leader every day. It's a great conversation. He's very inspirational, wonderful person. This is Darshan Chavan. Sometimes you can prepare too much and then what you've prepared for, the experience is totally different to what you've prepared for. It's like being in university, when you prepare for an exam and you don't know, this is my experience, you don't know exactly what's going to be on the test, and you spend 3 days preparing and the test is totally different to what you studied. So hopefully this experience for you is going to be totally different but also enjoyable. So welcome. Yeah. Welcome, Darshan, to the podcast.
Thank you for having me here, Evelyn.
It's great to have you. I'm excited. It's a Friday for us and I get to speak with a fellow Aussie who, in my time zone, I speak with people all over the world. So it's really nice that we're here. It's a Friday morning and I would love to know, whereabouts are you in the world?
Currently, I'm based in Gold Coast, Australia, Sunshine State.
It is the Sunshine State, and you're not that far away from me, and which is lovely. Could you share with us, please, who do you serve and how do you serve them?
We usually serve really busy business owners, all right, who are looking to scale pretty profitably. At the same time, trying to have more time off for their family, their investments, their interests, whatever it might be, by helping them really build high-performance remote teams, which would take most of their time off from their work and help them focus on their vision, focus on their mission and where they want to grow, how they really want to scale their business and also their impact.
Well, that's exciting. I know, hopefully people have heard that and go, wow, that sounds exactly like what I need, because we all have had this experience with this bottleneck, of doing a lot of work and getting bogged down. And I know we're going to talk more about the detail of what you do shortly. Could you take us through the journey? Like, what's been the journey of Darshan's journey that's brought you from, where you started to where you are today? I'm fascinated to hear about the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, it's been exactly almost like 10 years since I first moved to Australia from India, where I just came as an international student, like on July 14th, 2013. That's the day when I first landed in Melbourne, and it was pretty cold. I'm like, oh my God, where did I end up? All right. And I started my studies as an international student in Monash University, and I took my master's in business analytics. All right. And I really was not interested in studies at all, because I had learned from one of my mentors, Jim Rohn, where he clearly mentioned that formal education will make you a living, but self-education is going to make you a fortune. And I was not here to make a living. I was here to make a fortune. But that was just my gateway and a pathway to get my residentship. And I still cherish my uni days because I met some amazing friends, built relationship, everyone over there. But I could see a pattern in all successful business owners. And even when they were tracking their journey back, they all said that you got to be really good in sales. All right. Your ability to influence, persuade people is going to play a really pivotal role in your success in business. For me, I had worked in IT before and I didn't know anything about sales at all. So when I started applying for a sales job here as an international student, I used to get all rejections because they said that you don't have a sales experience and it's been like less than 6 months since you came to this country. So you would not qualify to sell here. And finally, the only job which I ended up getting was straight commission selling Telstar door to door. And I took it up as a challenge. All right. And I didn't know anything about sales. So since I have that urge and the hunger to always learn and get better, I started researching what is the best sales course to do at that time. And a common pattern I could see at that time was Jordan Belfort's straight line persuasion course. You might be knowing Jordan Belfort from the movie Wolf of Wall Street. So what I did was my sales career was supposed to start in Jan 2014. All right. And in December, I had 2 weeks vacation for Christmas holidays in my uni as well. And I took a really 200-page thick notebook. All right. And I bought that course, like straight line persuasion. It had 10 modules. It was all about how to really communicate with people, how to influence them, how to persuade them. And for 10 days, I almost locked myself out in a university library. The only time I used to go home was just to have my dinner and pack my lunch and sleep because I really wanted to learn this skill, how to influence, how to persuade people. And at the end of 2 weeks, I was able to finish that course. I was really elated. Okay, I'm going to become a sales champion now. But when the reality hit the door, it was still one of the hardest things I would have done in my life. All right. And I started selling door to door. It was like one rejection after another. And the biggest challenge was when I started selling door to door in Melbourne, they had a heat wave. All right. And it used to be a time when the temperature used to be like almost 46 degrees, 45 degrees Celsius. It was so hard. Sometimes the iPad used to turn off. All right. We couldn't use the iPad. That was the first time I saw like a red thermometer on the iPad saying that you can't use your iPad anymore. So what we had to do was just chuck our iPad in, take a notepad and still keep knocking on people's door to make sales. And I still cherish that to this day because that was the time where I could hear swear words in different accents. People used to smash the door on your face. And that's when I really got to know that I can build a really thick skin that's needed to succeed in business long term. And later on, I started doing a more seminars as well. Like one of them was Unleash the Power Within, like Tony Robbins seminars where you get to walk on hot coal and all those things. That's when I really met my business partner as well. Regin, and we saw that we both have a similar interest in growing, developing ourselves and all those things. And that's when we started our business ventures as to how we can, really have an impact, help people out. And during the meantime, while we were starting this business, I read a book by Tim Ferriss called as 4-Hour Work Week. And as soon as I read that, I had a really light bulb moment. I'm like, wow. So you can grow a business, you can make a big profit, but at the same time, you can have an impact on other people and you can start using the power of virtual teams, like the power of remote teams. And for me at that time, I was also very keen on scuba diving. I used to go every year to Cairns to scuba dive. And for me, I had booked an amazing scuba dive expedition for almost 4 days, but I had just a month to prepare for it. And at that time, I was it was in 2016, 2017. At that time, I was still doing everything myself. All right. Because the limiting belief in me was if I had to do it, I had to do it myself. All right. Because other people are not as efficient in doing what I want them to do. But the challenge was I would be off on the reef for almost a week. That's when I hired a particular salesperson from the Philippines to train her, to make sure that she's able to take the calls, do the sales, process the sales, everything end to end. And within a month, I had to train her, make sure she's completely onboarded and she can also execute. And finally, the day came. All right. It was almost like Monday morning. I had a chat with her. I told her, like, this is my business and I'm leaving and I'm not reachable for almost a week. And it's up to you. How are you going to manage? What's going to happen? The next call I'll be calling you is only going to be on a Friday morning when I'm back from the reef. So we had to go to a really deeper reef, apart from Green Island. Green Island is an amazing place in Cairns. So yeah, I had an amazing time, almost scuba dived every other day. And it was fun. Was able to see Nemo, many other fishes. It was so much fun. But at the same time, something was going on in my back head. Oh my God, I don't know what's happening with the business. Are we able to take care of it, or is it gone completely to the ground? Because this person is not even here. I can't even catch her. She's in Philippines somewhere. And finally, the day came where I came back. I finally got the internet connection. And the first thing which I did was to call this person. I asked her, how is it going on? What's happening? And she told me, I got 3 sales. And you have cashed in this much money in your bank account and everything is going fine. I've handled it end to end. And that's when I had that epiphany moment. Wow. What if I could have 10 people like this? What if I could have 30 people like this? How much more can my business grow? At the same time, I'm enjoying all the experiences, whichever I want to do. And more importantly, I'm able to scale profitably. So yeah, now just almost like 6 years have passed. And in the last 2 years, we have just using remote teams, we have generated almost 6 million plus in revenue. And last year, we got recognized as one of the 100 fastest growing companies in Australia. We got placed at the 66th position and was able to give an amazing TED talk on a particular topic which I'm passionate about, like collaboration, building remote teams, working together with people and having a bigger impact. And yeah, life has been pretty blessed.
Wow, Darshan. First of all, congratulations on the award. Well deserved. And one thing stands out for me, and that is your determination and your resilience. I mean, I don't know how many people listening to this have done door-to-door sales. I had a stint doing it when I was a teenager, and it wasn't actually selling. It was just trying to give them bags to put secondhand clothing and toys in, and the way that I was treated then, just to try and give someone to offer a plastic bag for a collection, was awful. So thinking about the door-to-door sales, and especially in the heat, it takes a lot, and it's a testament. I think it's very character building and resilience building, and you really took that on board. There's got to be something deeper that made you get past these challenges. What did it come from your childhood, or was it this pure determination that coming to Australia was going to be your ticket to building a better life? Can you share with me what it was sort of that gave you that 100%. Spark?
For me, the biggest thing that really motivated me was trying to make sure that I pay off my student loan, because when you come here as an international student, you don't get HECS. All right. So what my parents had to do was they had to mortgage their own house. They had to put it on a line of credit to kind of sponsor my education over here. And even though I got a scholarship for $10,000, I still had to pay almost $50,000. And my parents had to keep all their papers, the mortgage, everything onto the bank. And the only way out for me was to make sure that I pay this amount and make sure I clear this money. And I still remember an incident very clearly. All right. I was door knocking in Townsville. I still remember it so vividly and clearly. And the first day when I started knocking in Townsville, it was again heavy humidity. The temperature was so high, I really could not make that many sales. All right. Whereas all my team members, they were at least doing 2 or 3 sales. And Nick was my sales manager at that time. He was a really, really smart guy. All right. He knew how to bring the best out of people. And then in the evening when we went back, each of them had to give their count, how many sales we had done, and everyone were giving their counts. And I told Nick, I couldn't work properly and I got 0 sales. He said, all good, that's all right. Let's have a chat tomorrow and see what can be done. And on the second day, while we were knocking in Townsville, usually he had a big Toyota Tarago was his vehicle because he could put at least 5 to 6 people in there. So usually he used to drop me the first or the second person in a location so that I can start knocking. But on that day, he made sure I was the last person to be dropped at a particular location. That kind of surprised me. I'm like, what's Nick up to? What is he really doing here? And then he dropped everyone. And then it was just me and him. And he asked me to come and sit with him in the front seat. So I just went and sat there. And he asked me, what exactly is going on? What happened yesterday? I said, yeah, the heat was too much. I really couldn't work. It's too humid here. I would rather work somewhere else where the humidity is not there, where the conditions are easy, everything. And then he asked me, okay, why are you doing this? All right. What's the reason why you're knocking? Why do you want to make sure you hit your targets? Then I told him, you know what? I just want to make some money. I just want to live it easily, everything. He said, nah, tell me the real reason why you want to do this. That's when I told him I have a massive student debt, which I have to pay. And I need to make sure my parents' house is not there on the mortgage. I really need to make it happen. And he said, what if you don't? All right, what's going to happen? What's going to happen of your parents? Do you feel that you're going to let them down? All right, they had so much trust in you, but still you were not able to fulfill their dreams. And how would you really feel? All right. And that's when he could see that my pupil changed, the color in my pupil changed and the size changed. And I was really burning with desire and hunger and everything. And he did not say anything. He said, okay, cool. You can open the door and go. All right. And by evening, I had got like 7 sales. And and it was a crazy time, and everyone was just getting 2 or 3 sales. And by end of the day, where we finished it by 6:30 or something like that, I had ended up getting 9 sales, which was like a record for the day. And then that really stood up. If you have a big enough why, you would be able to do anything. And everything was the same. It was the same temperature. It was the same location. Everything was same. All that changed was I had to be reminded about my why. And if in case I'm not going to achieve it, what will be the consequences? So that was a really good insight for me to make sure that, if you have a big enough why, and if you know what are the consequences of you not hitting that why, it's going to really drive your determination.
Absolutely. What a great moment for you and the way Nick asked you those questions. Really brilliant, right? And I'm sure you've drawn upon that experience a few times since, right?
Massively, because that's what really good leaders are. They're really good at asking quality questions, all right? And as Tony Robbins says, the quality of your life depends on the quality of questions you ask. And they're able to really get that thing out of person. Like, what's their motivation? What's their desire? What's their why?
Absolutely. Darshan, you mentioned when you're at university studying for that 2-week break before you started the sales job, and you bought the persuasion course, and you basically bunkered down and went for it. You mentioned your mentor, Jim Rohn. When did you learn about Jim Rohn? Was it before you came to Australia, or was it when you got here?
I was way before when I came to Australia. That was the start of my personal development journey. During my bachelor's as well, I was a little bit good in repairing computers, all right, installing different softwares, like, the Windows softwares, troubleshooting and everything. And while I was doing this, I was searching for a particular software on one of the pirate websites at that time. And I saw a picture of an old guy where it had written 10 keys to succeeding in life. And I'm like, wow, what is this? Like, who's this old guy? And that's when I got to know his name was Brian Tracy. All right. And I'm like, okay, this sounds interesting. Let me just download it and listen to it, what he says. And as in when I listened to it for almost an hour or 45 minutes, it just blew my mind. It was like opening like a treasure chest. All right. I'm like, wow, who are the other people who are like this? All right, what else is there? And I went on a rabbit hole of almost 2 years of listening to these seminars, listening to these audiobooks. All right. And I think so in 2 years, I had listened to almost like 45 or 50 seminars of Brian Tracy and Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn really struck the chord with me because he was so funny, and whatever he said was simple, but at the same time, it was super duper powerful. All right. And yeah, everything made so much more sense. Like as he said, if you invest in yourself, the returns are so much more bigger. So yeah.
Such a gift to get that at a young age. I don't know how young you were. You were, like you said, you were doing your bachelor degree. You were in India.
I was 22 at that time. Yeah.
22. Was that the start of the spark of the desire to come to Australia and continue building?
Because for me, during my college days and uni days, I was a total bummer. All right. My grades were so low, especially during my bachelor's. I had even got a second class. I was not even eligible to apply for companies. And if I used to go near the placement center where they used to place students to join companies, the HR used to scream at me. She's like, you don't even qualify. All right. How come you're coming here? Why are you trying to do this? All right. And I knew that, okay, I'm a bummer. I don't care. All right. That's how my approach towards life was. But everything took a turn. All right. When I started jumping myself into personal development, looking at what exactly is there. And I still remember what Brian Tracy said, all skills are learnable. All right. And no one is smarter than you. No one is better than you. If someone is smarter, they have spent so much time in honing, learning and getting better at that skill. And these kind of quotes, they just keep popping up sometimes in my head. Yeah.
That's great. So what was your parents' reaction when they saw you sort of diving into this personal development after seeing you being, like you say, a bit of a bum student?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Because for parents as well, it was a bit of a shock, wow, what's happening? There are a lot of things that are changing in his life right now, and something is happening. And when I was previously working in India in IBM as an IT analyst, that's when I hit upon the goal setting thing. All right. I did not know what goals were, how is it going to work, what's going to happen. But as soon as I joined the company, within 3 to 6 months, I kept a goal. Within the next 18 months, I'm going to be a top performer. All right. In my team of 35 people, usually the top performer award is given to only one person who goes above and beyond, and they have done something to the company. And I'm like, okay, Brian Tracy told me keep goals. So I'll keep a goal that I'm going to be the top performer. And I shared it with my work colleague over there. And he started laughing and he fell down from his chair. Literally, he fell down. And I'm like, what's wrong, man? Why can't I keep a goal to be a top performer? And then he got up, sat back on his chair, and he said, there are people in this particular project who've been working for 6 years. All right. And 5 years. And I've been working for 4 years. I have never got that. Okay. It's really hard. And you've just been here for 3 or 6 months and you're saying that you'll be a top performer. I'm like, wow. Okay. There are two ways I can take it from here. All right. Either I can live my dream or I can prove him wrong. All right. Because that kind of thing fueled me for a really long time. Sometimes proving people wrong and making sure that I can really do what people say can't do it. And lo and behold, after 18 months, I developed a new method of knowledge transfer, onboarding and training at that time. That was way back in 2011 or 2012, because at that time, we didn't have Loom, we didn't have screencasting, nothing of that sort. Usually, there was a software called as Camtasia, where I started recording all what the new people had to do, what kind of procedures they have to do, what kind of training they have to do, how to work on different things, all those things. And it took me almost 6 months to do it. And I was able to present it to the entire management team as to how is it going to benefit them, what's going to happen, everything. And out of 35 people, I got the top performer rating. They gave me a 30% hike as well. But in a way, it was good, as well as I could see that if I'm in a job, I have to wait for 1 year to get the 30% hike. And during exactly at that time, I bumped onto the book Rich Dad Poor Dad and also Cash Flow Quadrant. And when I really read the cash flow quadrant, I'm like, man, I got the 30% hike, but I can't even get it tomorrow. I need to wait for 6 months to get that hike. So what's the next thing? That's when I got my interest moved towards business, sales, everything. So it did have a really big impact on my parents, that they could see that I'm already winning. I'm able to, build on my previous success.
Yeah, for sure. And what was it that when you decided you wanted to come to Australia and your parents obviously put up the money for you to study in Australia, did you ask them, or was it something that they offered? How did that come about?
No, I had to ask them, and I had to tell them as well that this is what I want to do. This is how I'm going to do it. All right. And I asked them, oh, what do you think? And then they were pretty supportive, and they could see that as well. I have built on my success. What has really happened in the last 2 to 3 years since I graduated from my bachelor's, where I was total bummer, nothing was happening over there. And over now, I was doing one thing after another. Because while I was working in IBM as well, I had kept a goal to get a scholarship to a university, which I'm going to apply here. So what I did was, while I was working, I pursued an MBA in project management. So at that time, I learned some memory techniques as well. So even though I was working full time, I was able to use these memory techniques, and I cleared that MBA in a high grade distinction, something of that sort, like 75% or above and beyond. And that really helped me get a scholarship as well when I applied at Monash University. So Monash University got back to me saying that, okay, you've got a $10,000 scholarship, so you can come and study here. So that kind of helped me as well, saying that, okay, I can go there, I can succeed, and I can have a new life. But it was pretty risky at that time. But I took the responsibility, I took the ownership that I'm going to make sure I'm going to collect all the documentation and all those things. But I had no clue how am I going to pay the loan. What's going to happen? You're just going to jump in sometimes.
Was there ever a time, so after you got to Australia and you started working in your door-to-door sales job, was there ever a time where you thought, I don't know that I'm going to do it? How, I'm not sure I'm cut out for this, or how on earth am I going to pay my parents back?
Yeah, there were a lot of times where the doubts did pop in, because most of the friends who I used to work with, they were either working in Coles, 7-Eleven, and those kind of areas where they used to get a good, decent income. All right. And when I used to tell them that I'm going to do door-to-door sales, they're like, are you crazy? Why would you do that? All right. People will beat you up. And people in door-to-door sales don't make any money. All right. And to support that, when I first started, out of every 10 people who used to start working with me, 7 or 8 of them would be not there next month. Because in door-to-door sales, there's a 70% drop-off rate, because people can't take the rejection, the failure, and all those things. I'm like, wow, are my friends right? Like, why nothing is working out? And it was so hard. And I could see that in the first 6 months, they were making way, way, way more money. They were paying their student debts off quicker, everything. Whereas for me, it was such a slow space to learn, to go through. And the challenge was because I was working on straight commission selling. Even though you make a sale, you don't get paid for it for more than a month or 45 days until a person installs the Telstra connection. So it did not really make sense for me. Why am I putting myself through all this? And I'm not seeing any money for almost such a really long time. So yeah, there were days when, but I just had to have the self-belief, whatever my mentors or the people who I have read in the book, there's a long-term gain. This is not a short-term gain.
You certainly had a strong inner belief in yourself, but also that if you persevered, you would get there. Didn't you?
100%.
Mm. How long did it take you to achieve that goal of paying back your parents?
Oh, that's a really awesome story. It was almost like 2015, all right, and I was about to graduate from my master's. That's when I called both my mom and dad to Melbourne, Australia, and because it was my graduation ceremony, I would love to have them over here. They were here. They had some good time in Melbourne. I was able to take them around everywhere. And the graduation ceremony finished. I got my recognition, the hat throwing, what all and not. And the time came when they had to go back to India. All right. And I still had almost $20,000, around that much of loan still left. And because it has taken almost 2 years, 1.5 years to 2 years for me to get really good in sales, I had started making some really good money as well. All right. And I still remember the day when I gave my mom $10,000 cash, my dad $10,000 cash. And I told them, okay, you have $20,000. Now go back, give it to the bank, get your papers from your house, and yeah, you're good to go. Nothing much to worry about. And yeah, they were so elated. And I was happy as well that, having that strong belief that sales is going to be really important and it can help you hit your goals was so pivotal in my life.
What an amazing story. And I can only imagine how they felt when you did that, like the surprise, but also the pride, that, wow,
Yeah.
look what our son has achieved. And he really did it.
Yeah, that was a really one of the blessed feelings. Really grateful to have done that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. What a powerful journey that you went on up until, like, before you even started your business. Like the lessons that you learned, the resilience building, all of the things that you developed, internally. I mean, to me, that what you've done in that time period, a lot of people, even, who've been running businesses for a long time or older in their life, haven't yet started to master. And you did it all in this period with a sense of self-determination because you had that bigger goal and that vision. And it's remarkable. It's really insightful. And this is why I love hearing about people's stories, because this is where you've come from. This is what drives you. And it shows why you've then gone on to do the things that you've done. And I think one of the key insights from this is that success is never an overnight thing. You could sit here and say, wow, we're one of the fastest growing companies, in Australia. And look what we've achieved in 2 years. But that success hasn't been a 2-year journey. It started way back. Yeah.
Yeah, because I always remember, again, one of Tony Robbins' quote, what he says is like, you get rewarded in public for what you insanely practice in private. Most people see that, it's a one-off event, but it's not. It's a daily hustle, making sure that you stick to your habits, and more importantly, doing what you don't want to do, either you feel like it or not. All right. Yeah, that really matters a lot.
It certainly does. So now I'd love to hear more about the business. Now you've got this award. How long have you had the business for now?
We had the business for almost 5 years now. All right. And it's been an amazing journey as well. And even in my business journey, it really started pretty differently. All right. Where one of the first few projects that we were working was helping migration agents. All right. And their clients, get a qualification as well. And it was more of a B2B project. And when I first started this project, for almost 3 months, we were not able to get any sales at all, zero. And I was thinking, what's going on, man? I think so, I thought I was really good at selling, but this is a completely different ball game. And it's been 3 months, not even a single sale, not even a single transaction. I don't know what's happening. All right. And that's when I read a really amazing book called as The Go Giver. All right. And it's all about adding value to people. All right. How can you add 10 times the value, even before you ask them to do something? And when I spoke with these migration agents, their biggest struggle was some of their clients, they were not able to get really good grades in their English language exam. All right. And if they don't get in their IELTS exam, if they don't get those grades, they're not able to apply for their visas. For me, I had already passed through that phase because when I had to apply my permanent residency, I had to take the similar exam and had to get a particular grade. And I was able to go through that entire journey, and I got almost 90% in my writing, reading, listening, and speaking. So I had prepared a folder of everything that you need to do, like the courses you need to take, the examinations you need to have, everything. So what I started doing was I started putting all these things in, at that time we had USB drives, right, in 2016, 2017. So I went to Officeworks and bought like 50 USB drives. And I just started putting all of these IELTS learning materials, which really helped me get that 90% score. And I started revisiting all these clients of mine, and I used to just hand them over this USB drive, telling them, you know what, you can keep this, and all of your clients who are struggling to get that particular grade, you can start sharing this with them. And they were like, oh, are you sure? Why are you doing this? I'm like, no, nothing, man. Just keep it. Like, this will help you move your clients forward and it'll increase your business. And in turn, if you think that you can give us some business, you can give me a call on this number or send me an email. If not, that's fine as well. I hope I have added some value to you. And I started doing that for 1 month. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's good. If we get a business, it's good. If not, I added some value to them. I was able to be of service to them. And within 2 months' time, the business exploded. All right. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Like, and I'm not even hustling that hard. I'm not even pitching that hard. And only because I started by giving value. I started by helping them, adding service to them. The business exploded in the next 6 months. We got so much business. We had to hire more new people as well. And we built relationship, and that built a continuous cycle. That's when I really understood the power of value and how can we make sure we lead by example in whatever we do.
I love that book, and what a great story. It's so cool. I love it when people take initiative, and what I like hearing about your story, Darshan, is, you've learnt these powerful concepts from other people of wisdom through books, the programs that you've done, and you've applied them. You've applied these things, and then they've worked. And it's very different to just reading a book, taking on the knowledge and going, oh yeah, and then not doing anything, which is what a lot of people do. A lot of people read these books or attend these programs, but their lives don't change. And I think largely it's because they don't do anything with that knowledge. Whereas you've applied that new knowledge and you've gone out and done something, and therefore life has rewarded you in kind.
Yeah, big time. Because I just learned it from whenever I meet some of my mentors, I look at really what their identity is. And whenever I see people who have really built big businesses, their core identity is I'm a doer. I'm a man of action. I'm not a man of just words. All right. And then they tell me so many more times, often they say, action takers are money makers. Action takers are money makers. And I'm like, wow, that's an amazing identity to kind of, make sure that, yeah, I am a doer. I am a man of action. All right. Yeah, I make things happen. So that the more I repeat those things to myself, because previously I used to get stuck with my personality. Sometimes I used to get stuck with perfection. All right. I need to have all the ducks lined up. Only then am I going to take action. And and sometimes, you just get into that personal development junkie mode. All right. You keep learning, you keep going through one seminar after another. But yeah, again, no judgment. But sometimes since we go to seminars, I can still see people who keep attending the seminars one after another, but at the same point in life. All right. So I'm like, wow.
Yeah, very insightful. So how did the business then change from what you were doing? Or has it changed from when you were working with the migration agents?
A lot.
Yeah.
So what happened was since we started implementing, we started taking action, the business was growing very rapidly. And at the same time, we used to have a lot of time off as well. All right. And a lot of our friends, our business owner friends, our group friends started asking us, what exactly is happening? All right. Because usually growth eats the cash. All right. Growth eats the profit. But you guys are able to grow sustainably over a long period of time and still able to have the time off, are still able to make a profit. How is this working? What's happening? And that's when we started to share these techniques with our friends and with our fellow business friends as well about the power of remote teams. how having an overseas team or a virtual team can really support your business. And usually so many other businesses, big businesses are doing this. All right. It's not a secret out there. It's just the limiting beliefs that you have. You might have to challenge it. All right. So look at Facebook. All right. Even if you call Facebook support right now, someone from Philippines picks up the phone. All right. Even if you try to call Apple, all right, someone from Singapore or Taiwan picks up the phone. So why are these big companies doing it? And you as a small to medium sized businesses are missing out on this. All right. Some of the opportunities are so big. And when I started having a chat with a few people, they had some really strong limiting beliefs. Like, my data is confidential. All right. And my data is really important, and which I used to have it as well. All right. I'm really serious about my customer data, my confidential data, everything. But I really need to thank one of my mentors. He had already had a really big call center, all right, in Philippines. And one of the best ways he challenged my thinking was he asked me, all right, you're seeing Westpac has an overseas team in Philippines. ANZ has an overseas team in India. Is your data more secure than ANZ and Westpac? And I'm like, wow, what a whammy approach. Like, that's like a smack in my face. I'm like, no, I don't think so. And he said one more example. Even Department of Immigration outsources to Thailand. Is your data more secure and confidential than Department of Immigration? All right. Westpac, ANZ, ask me any company, they all outsource. So why are you really holding back? And when I heard these things, that's when I started opening up to remote teams and trying to lead them and make things happen. And also for me, it did make bigger sense as well. Sometimes we see that, okay, I'm like, it's going to be like a sweatshop, people are not going to get paid anything as such. Because for me, when I was in India, when I was working for IBM, I used to get paid $4 an hour. All right. But for me, that $4 an hour was mind blowing. I used to have an amazing life with my friends. And since I just graduated from university, I was able to buy new phones. I was able to buy new clothes, everything. So when we put them in their perspective, it was really having a huge impact. And even in our team as well, I could see people who were able to fix their roofs. All right. They were able to provide for their child's education, and everything was having a bigger impact. And that's when I decided, man, this is something that we need to share with people where they can have an impact. They can really grow their businesses and at the same time have more time off as well.
That's brilliant. And were you still working with your business partner, the one you met at the Tony Robbins event?
Yeah, we've been business partners since 8 years now. Yeah.
Oh, fabulous. And so you live on the Gold Coast and you're based there. Is your business partner near you, or is he somewhere else as well?
Yeah, he's pretty nearby as well. He stayed in Ormo for a long time. And when I first used to visit Melbourne, and when I first moved back from Melbourne, I had a look at Ormo, the surrounding, and I moved in here as well 2 years ago. So he just stays like 10 minutes walk from my place.
That's good. So you get face-to-face time.
Yes.
That's great. So talk to me about the things that you love most about the business and what you're doing today.
Yeah,
100%. Who you're serving. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, there were a lot of things that I had to let go. I have covered this in my TED talk as well. All right. Because for me, I used to love control. All right. I used to be kind of a control freak. I'm like, I need to know every single thing that happens. And most of the things had to be done by me. If it's not done by me, it's not going to be of quality. And that's when some of the books which I started reading about delegation, building bigger teams, what they said was done is better than perfect. All right. So, or even 80% good enough done by other person is better than 100% done by me. I'm like, wow, what an awesome concept. 80% or 70% done good enough by another person is so much better than 100% done by me. So that's when I had to have that shift in my mindset that, I can empower people. I can lead people. I can grow them. Okay. And this was the thing that really changed in the business. So for me, I make sure that there are just less than half a dozen things that I do in the business. And the most important one is like giving the vision. When I say vision, you don't need to be like an Elon Musk vision that you need to put people on Mars. It can be as simple as letting people know what is expected of them, all right, for this month, for this quarter, and for this year, and having that clarity and making sure the rhythms, the rituals are happening in our business as well, because this is one thing that has really helped us go pretty fast and maintaining that culture of the business as well. And yeah, so that's where I usually try to spend most of the time in making sure that people are motivated. And if I see someone is really struggling or they're having some challenges, being the coach. And one of the books that really helped me and kind of develop this mindset was A $1 Trillion Coach by Bill Campbell. And when I read this book, it had a huge impact. As a leader, your number one goal would be to really coach people and also have the influence to lead them, to motivate them, and get the best results out of them. And for me, I find it way more fulfilling that when you're able to lead people to their goals, sometimes you challenge them to bring the best out of them. The business grows at the same time. You feel way more fulfilled as well.
So empowering. I love that. So with your clients, how are you helping them? Are you looking at where they can outsource? Is that what you're doing? You help them to see areas of their business that they can actually let go of, like you did, and then develop that external offshore team to take on that work?
Usually we help clients with three things. First and foremost is to understand what are the outcomes that they're expecting in their business. All right. And what exactly is holding them back from scaling their business. All right. And also the second thing, what we do is we help them find the right person that helps them achieve this outcome. So what we do is we do a bit of personality profiling. Some people might have heard of DISC or even Personality Plus. All right. So there are 4 different personalities. So each personality can do one particular task differently. So this is what we do when we sit with them. We ask them what are the tasks that needs to be delegated, what projects needs to happen, and what particular personality do you think suits this role. And that's when we try to find the personality that exactly matches this task or a role. And then what we do is we also train them and we give them an account manager that makes sure that this particular task, a goal is done. And it is taking their business to a completely new level. They're able to increase their profit margin. And at the same time, they now have taken more time off. I have one of my clients. I sometimes just look at her stories. Like 1 year before she was working, she used to usually post stories about all the documents on her table. All right. All her client meetings. These days, I can see her more pictures of her on a beach, on a spa. And I'm like, wow, this lady has really taken it and she's really implemented it. And currently, she's just working 3 days a week in her business. Previously, it used to be anywhere between 5 to 6 days. The reason being, she has now learned that skill of delegation. And more importantly, she has found out who, not the how. If you can really find the person who can really help you in the business and make sure you are able to empower them, delegate the task, businesses can grow pretty rapidly.
What? Yes. Sorry, my mind is just going, into that, and I'm feeling into what you're saying and thinking, and yeah, I can just see the implications of that. I love it. I absolutely love it. This is the 6-Star Business Podcast, Darshan. So I'd like to ask you the question, what does being 6-star mean to you?
For me, there are a few things, all right? Usually people always think about 5-star, right? And when I heard about your podcast, 6-star, I think so it all that says that you need to go above and beyond, all right, in everything that you do. For your clients, for your staff, for your team members. And just yesterday, I was just making sure that we are able to clear all the invoices for the team members and everything. And when we looked at it, usually most of the people, like salespeople or people who are on an incentive way, we pay them almost 10 different kinds of payments, in our team. And when I looked at it, it blew my mind. I'm like, wow. And at the same time, I felt happy for it because most of the people in our team, they work with us for 6 years, 3 years or 4 years, which is really rare, very rare when you work in a remote environment. But the reason why they do it is I can see that we have gone above and beyond in delivering value to the team members. And also when it comes to the client space, we have close to over 400 5-star reviews. And also 25 plus case studies, video testimonials, everything. And the reason why I can see that is, again, we have gone above and beyond in making sure the clients are taken care of. We are adding value to what they think that really they need the help with. So I think that's exactly where the six star comes into effect. How can you just not be good enough is good enough, but how can you be outstanding? How can you be exceptional in really delivering value to people, helping them, going and above and beyond? And that's where when you create raving fans in your business.
Agree. What do you think is the ingredient for you that enables you to do that?
For us, the biggest thing is for me, money is a good indicator. But I learned a long time back that if you focus on money, you really are not going to get it. I think it's John D. Rockefeller who said it pretty well. If money is your only goal in life, you will rarely get it. But when you have a higher purpose of service, of contribution, all right, and then making sure that you are able to make an impact and who you really are serving, all right, and what kind of a transformation is it going to bring in them? I think so that really helps you push and make sure you're able to overcome all the obstacles, the challenges, and at the same time, help people out with their problems.
Great answer. And there's no right or wrong answer here. I just love hearing what comes out naturally, and it just makes so much sense. What I was tapping into throughout all of your sharing and the journey is you really care. And the business model that you've got now, the way you help other businesses, you actually tap in and figure out who they really are. And through that sense of, you've got that higher purpose and it's about helping, and you're actually providing value and making life better because you care, not because you're focusing on reaching your income targets for the month.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, that really helps. That adds, and people can sense it as well. That when you're doing just for the sake of doing it, or just to make sure you're there to assist them, to help them, and to serve them.
You've talked about having goals, and that's what got you to Australia in the first place. And here you are today. Obviously, so what's on the future? In the future, what's the vision that's sitting there for you? What do you see? What do you want to achieve?
Yeah. For us, we really want to help, at least in the next 3 years, 500 business owners to really unleash their potential. When I say unleash their potential, help them build stronger teams, scale their businesses, and it need not be either or. It can be and. They can scale the business and have a bigger profit margin, and also spend more time with the people that they love. Spend more time on the interests that they want to share or experience and enjoy. So that's what we really are aiming at in the next 3 years, to really impact at least 500 business owners and entrepreneurs, understand the power of building remote teams, how really outsourcing, delegation, all right, and really leading people can have a big impact on your life and the people around you.
Beautiful. I so love that. And I love that the way you do it is helping people to get out of their own way, like helping them to focus on the things that they're best at, and then doing the things that they love to enable that growth to happen. Because often it's the business owner that is the biggest block to that flow of energy and the growth that they're wanting, but they are this block. Would you agree?
100%, because I was one of them. All right. Let me start with myself. All right. I had so many limiting beliefs that would stop me from scaling. All right. And the biggest one, which I still remember, which I was holding on to, is clearing the invoices of team members. And there was a lot of negative ego associated towards it. Because whenever I used to clear the invoices and send them an email or a screenshot, the team members used to respond saying, "Oh, thank you so much for paying the invoice and everything." And I used to get a boost. But the challenge was sometimes every fortnight, it used to take me 3 to 4 hours just to clear the invoices. All right. And I'm like, whoa, I don't think so I'll be able to do it for long enough. That's when I had to really delegate it to the project manager. And now, since the team has grown, he's doing way, way better job in clearing the invoices. All right. And he's exceptional in doing that. And I always remember a particular quote from Richard Branson. He said that look for things that you don't like doing in your business, in your personal life, everything. And make sure you're able to find those people who really love doing the same things. And there are people out there. It's your responsibility to find them. And a practical example happened just 3 months ago. All right. I just bought a new drawer, like a desk in my office space. And for me, I absolutely hate IKEA. All right. I'm pretty bad with my hands. I can't do anything when it comes to assembling or those kind of things. And I have one particular assembly guy called as Noel. And for him, whenever he looks at anything assembling, he's like a child, who has got a new toy. And I could see him when he came first. And as soon as they looked the IKEA box, he was sparkling. He's like, "Oh my God, this is an IKEA box." And I'm like, man, that's when I remembered what Richard Branson told. All right. Make sure you are able to find people who love doing what you hate doing, because for them, it's joy. All right. And he really told me, I really love doing this. I can do this all day long. All right. And and if you happen to pay me money, I would take it. And I'm like, man, this is so true. There are people out there, all right, who really love what you hate doing. It's all coming to making sure that you find them and giving them an outcome or an expectation, what's really expected of them.
That's it. If only we could all live our lives, doing the things that we love. And what you're saying is we can do that. And it's your mission to help people to do that, because that's what you do effectively.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. So tell me, Darshan, how can people get in touch with you, or is there something you'd like to offer the listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. For business owners who really want to grow their profit as well as an impact, what we do is we do a 30-minute quick strategy session to let them know, all right, how they can really maximize their profit in their business and also their impact. So if someone is really keen, they can just drop me a message called as a profit on my LinkedIn account, and we will be able to get in touch with them, and they can do this quick session with us. And we'll be able to give them a complete blueprint as to how they can really have a bigger impact and a bigger profit margin in their businesses.
Wonderful. Thanks. And we'll have the links and everything, the contact details in the show notes below, whether you're looking at this on the podcast or on YouTube. Thank you for that. I can't believe we're already almost at the hour, Darshan, and I've just loved this. I love everything about your story and who you are and how you're bringing more impact to the world. And that's why you're here on the podcast. So I just want to thank you for sharing your story and your vision and who you are and what makes you who you are, what makes you different. That's awesome. Part of the joy of, having these conversations. I absolutely love it. So just want to thank you.
Thanks so much, Ellen. And you're doing a really, really amazing job by having people over here on your podcast, because they get to listen the story behind the business and everything. And people always, will be able to change their lives. And when they listen to the stories, that's when it has a big impact. And thanks for being that medium. All right. Many people talk about it. I want to have a podcast. I want to interview people, and you're there doing it. That's what they say that, right? Sometimes the spectators don't matter. It's the gladiator who's over there doing it that matters the most.
You really are a book of quotes, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. It's getting their mind.
I love it. I love it. Darshan, is there something you'd like to leave our listeners with? Maybe a gold nugget, a piece of advice, something that you can give them as you finish up?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it was a really good reminder, which I have put a quote over here as well. All right. Because for us, most of the time, our brain is thinking about what will go wrong. All right. What's the negative thing that might happen? All right. So for me, one motto most of the time I try to live by is stop being afraid about what might go wrong. Instead, start being excited about what could go right. All right. So if we keep reminding ourselves of that, amazing things are going to happen. And just on the same line as well, I've heard many times people who are skeptical, who are cynics, they sound smart, they sound knowledgeable. But usually people who are really optimists make the big money. So why don't you be a big optimist and make big money, big impact, and live a bigger life?
Couldn't say it any better. That is just wonderful. Great motto to live by. Thank you. Thank you, Darshan, for sharing your time with me this morning. And I love what you're doing, and I applaud you and thank you.
Thank you so much for having me here, Evelyn. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Talk to you
soon.
Thank you.
For sure.